Hello, I'm Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels. Today's project is going to be this ABU Garcia Promax, and I'm trying to find a model number on it here somewhere. PMAX2. Okay, spinning baitcaster, and this one is fully functional. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm working on it, getting it ready for it to be issued out as a gift for a friend of mine, and everything on it is working okay, but we're going to take it apart and service it. It's been sitting for years, and before he takes it out fishing with it, I'd like for him to have it serviced. So we're going to start off by taking off this handle. Okay, I'm going to wipe that off. And it had a tension washer on behind it. I'm going to clean up that tension washer a little bit. All right, and we're going to add oil to each of the knobs on the handle. Spin them a little bit. They're a little rattly, so let's give them some more oil. That one's starting to quiet down. And we'll give them a while for that oil to seep down through there, and if it still sounds a little rough when we get there, we'll see about tightening it down. Okay, now this has got a click that stopped when I brought it out so far, so let's see what we've got here. Okay, there's going to be a spring. It looks like there's a spring right here. I have a feeling that spring's going to want to pop out once it gets out far enough. Okay, it does not. Okay, good. And we'll take this drag knob off, and if you look down inside it, you'll see it's pretty crusty down inside. So we're going to take a minute to clean that out in there. All right. Okay, and we'll wipe off the top of it. And that one's going to be ready. All right, let's see what we've got here. We have a tension washer right there. It's got a curve to it. There should normally there's two of these. Let's see if there's another one in there. There's normally two of these. Let's see if we've got a second one. Yes, we do. Okay, there's the second one. We'll wipe it off. Okay, and then we've got this clicker. There's a spring inside this right there. And that's what clicks along inside this knob here to give it your ratcheting click. Okay, that's going to go on with this skinny side here facing in. All right. And I think that's mostly what we can take off now. Yeah, we can get this washer off too. Just one single flat washer, very thin. And I could probably grab hold of that with something and pull it out, but I think we're going to leave it for now. All right, let's go ahead and take this knob loose. All right, now that should, when we pull that out, I'm hoping that's going to release this other side over here. I've never had this apart before, so yeah, there we go. That allows that to come up and lift out. Okay, we have a bearing inside here, which this one appears to be very clean, but we'll clean it out a little bit inside and give it a shot of oil. And okay, now look right here. We're going to zoom in for a minute. All right, if you look, you will see that there is a snap ring inside here. It's supposed to hold this bearing in place, and one end of that snap ring Seems to be coming out. So let's see if we can get it to go. Yeah, there we go. That snapped it back into place. Okay, that's what holds that bearing in. Let's make sure that the bearing is turning adequately. And it is, smoothly. All right, we're gonna set that over to the side and see if we can remove the spool, and we can. All right, now I removed all the line but this little bit here, and I left that on there for a reason. In case you didn't get to see me pull that out. All it did, there. This just pulls right out. Okay, I left a little bit of line on there, and the whole purpose behind leaving it on there is I want to be able to test the drag later, so I left it in place. Okay. All right, that's nice and clean in there. And we have a bearing over here. Now, in order to take this bearing out, you've got to press this pin out. I don't have a tool for doing that, so unless you've got a really pressing need for getting that bearing off, I'm going to suggest you leave it on there. If it's crunchy and needs to come off, that's a different story. But this one is turning freely. It just needs a drink of oil. Spin it around a little bit, and it's going to be fine. Okay, so that's got this side done. We may come back here and take this off. We're going to see what we need to do when we get to it from the other side. We may need to get that off in order to rotate this down to take that out, because we want to clean the pawl. So we're back to this side now, and we're going to remove 4 screws. We've got 1 back here and 3 on the front. So let's go ahead and start off with the 3 on the front. All right, now notice that one of those screws is smaller than the other. So this one here that goes on the front side is shorter than the 2 that go back here. Now let's take a look at this one on the bottom. Now let's see what it does. Okay, it's the same size as the back 2. Okay, so the only short one is going to go in this spot right here. Now this should slide off of here, I believe. Unless I'm missing another screw, and it appears that I am. If you look, we got 1 more screw, and they hit it and even made it black to make it blend in. It's this one right here. Okay, now that one is going to be the same size as the other. So no, it's longer. It's the longest of them all. So now let's see if this will pull off. There we go. Okay, everything comes off there. And here we have the reel laying on its side now. Okay, you can look in here. The reel is actually fairly decent looking inside, but the grease that's in it is very gummy. It's old and dried up. So let's go ahead and see about getting these parts taken off of here and cleaned up. We're going to start off by removing this sleeve off of here. There we go. Now we're going to take off this washer. And then we're going to slide the main gear up. We're going to leave the drag washers in it for right now. We'll come back to that in a few minutes. Look underneath it. What we've got under here is our ratchet cog. And when you pop it loose, there's going to be a drag washer under there. That drag washer was stuck, so that wasn't going to be operating properly. Okay, so you've got the ratchet cog, the drag washer, then the gear, and then the drag stack goes on top. Okay. And is there anything left under here that needs to come off? All right, now, because we don't know whether or not there's a bearing under here, we're going to go ahead and take this off. And we're going to take it off by removing this screw and this screw, and that should lift up out of there. Now, even if there isn't a bearing under there, there's still going to be a bushing that we need to clean up. So let's go ahead and take these two screws out. We're going to be putting this right back together, so we're not going anywhere with these screws. Okay, that popped right out. Okay, there is no bearing. Oh, yes, there is a bearing. Okay, we have a bearing right here. And that bearing is freely turning, but we are going to give it a shot of oil. All right, and when we go to put this back together, we're going to put a little bit of grease under here just to help this turn. We could go ahead and pop this C-clip off, but I don't really feel that that's necessary. I think we can accomplish what we want just by adding a little bit of grease right there and spinning that around a little bit. Okay, we're going to leave that off for the moment because we've got the rest of this we want to take off. Now see this glob of grease right here? That's for your yoke, and we're going to take that apart, slide it up. Well, first off, let's go ahead and take these two springs off. Okay, those two springs are going to go right there on those two posts, but those are really easy to lose. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take those two springs right there, and I'm going to put them onto this safety pin. That's my own way of making sure that I don't lose them. So I'll set that over to the side. Now I'm ready to lift off the yoke with the pinion gear. All right, and look at the direction it's installed. Okay, goes on just like that. Okay, and we're going to take this apart now. Slide this pinion gear out. And we're going to clean this glob of grease out of here. And then we're going to spray this with a degreaser or penetrating oil to let it dissolve the rest of that. Set that over to the side, and let's clean up our pinion gear. All right, now we're down to this part. And these parts have a tendency to get kind of gummy. Okay, this is your button right here that comes down. And a lot of times what will happen is this will stick right in here. So if it's sticking, you're going to want to take this screw out and lift this up out of here. If it's not sticking, then I recommend you leave it alone. You've got two screws here, or two springs, one over here, one over here. You can see the configuration of them. Okay, so if you needed to force this, you could take this on apart. I'm going to take instead and do a little bit of wiping right here just to get the old greases out. Then I'm going to spray it a little penetrating oil just to dissolve a little more of that grease. And then I'm going to take a brush and brush it around a little bit. Then I'm going to wipe it down. And I'm going to come back oil. Put some oil in here to help this slide. A little under here, and a little right here on the switch to allow it to function properly. Okay, so now this will come back this way, and I can already feel that that's moving much better than it was. Okay, and one last time we'll clean in this bearing and then oil it, and that's going to be ready to go back together. All right, our pinion gear is properly cleaned now, along with our yoke. And we're going to take and we're going to grease the yoke like so. Then we're going to come back and we're going to grease the pinion gear. And now when you put this in, this forced double slot area, that's going to go down. And then your yoke goes in like that. And then this will sit down inside here like so. Okay. If you look, you've got these little ramps on each end right here. See that ramp? That ramp has got to go facing down. Okay, like this. Okay. There. Now drop down. All right, we've got that in place. Now we've got this guy in place, and we're going to add a little bit of oil right here just to make sure that it's oiled adequately at that point. We've got oil in our bearing here. We're going to flip this over like this, and it's going to set down in here. This larger side here goes to the center, like that. And let's go ahead and put our 2 screws back in. All right, now the part that we still haven't been able to get to is right here. And I think the only thing we're going to be able to do to make that go away, to move this around, is to take this bar out. And we'll leave this out for the moment. We need to get this bar out so that this can pivot down. So what do we need to do to take out that bar? I believe, yeah, we're going to need to take out this screw here and this screw over here. Now those are smaller than these up here, so I'm going to have to get out a micro screwdriver for that. All right, we're going to take out these 2 screws. There's one. There's 2. All right, with those 2 screws out, I should be able to slide this assembly out here. And it wants to come easily off of this side, but this side over here, let's get, there we go. All right, that slides straight out. Okay, with that out, we should be able to push this bar out one direction or the other. And I'm gonna get, because I have such big fingers, I'm gonna use a pair of hemostats. Could use needle nose pliers to reach in here and push this through. Okay, there we go. And now, I guess we really didn't even need to remove that. Now that we've got that other part out, we can unscrew our pawl cover. And let's find out if this pawl is steel or stainless steel. And it's steel, which means it doesn't want to just fall out. Okay, so let's put our bar back in just so that this will kind of hold in place. And let's just tap this a little bit. There. Now, the bar didn't stay. I'm going to hold that bar in place there with my finger. And out comes. Now, I'm getting ready to show you something that has a tendency to disappear a lot on these reels. See this little washer right here? Well, that washer fits in the bottom of this cup right here. And it sits right against the bottom of the pawl. And it's what it does, it provides proper spacing for the pawl. Don't lose that little washer. I spent 4 hours one night trying to figure out where that went in a reel when it fell out on me. So now that you know where it's at, keep an eye out for it. All right, we've got that out. We got the pawl out. Let's go ahead and take the bar back out. That frees this up. Now we can move all this around. Now if you want, if this feels gritty in here, you can pop off this C-clip over here, or E-clip, like I'm about to do. And we're going to go ahead and take that E-clip out so that we can slide this worm gear all the way out. Now it's going to have a washer under this head. Okay. And you kind of might have to maneuver it around a little bit to get it, because it wants to drop in that slot that clip was in. Okay, and we want to pull out on this gear. There's the washer. Now we take that out. This little white piece right here is going to want to fall out. And this entire sleeve slides out. See here? Now here's our carrier. Let's go ahead and take our carrier out. Let's go ahead and take this all the way out. Now if you want, you can take that white piece out or leave it there. And now this will come out. Should come out. Everyone I've ever seen did. You know, it seems to be pressed in the end, and I don't want to force it. Okay, but there's a lot of dirt and grit down in here, so we're going to clean that really good. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to spray in some WD-40 and go to work on it with a brush. And if you've got it out like this, you can actually do a fairly decent rinse on it. By turning it up once you've scrubbed it good. And flood it. All right, let's take a look at what we got. Okay, now we've got a nice clean, now my hands are dirty though. We've got a very nice clean worm gear. All right, so we're gonna set it over to the side, and we're gonna clean up this carrier real quick because it's got a lot of dirt and grit on it. Okay, it's got the carrier clean. This is clean, the bar is clean. All right. The cap is clean, the washer's clean, this washer's clean, E-clip is clean, and our pawl is clean. Okay, what does that leave? It leaves this housing right here. That's the only thing that I haven't scrubbed up yet. So I'm going to go off camera for a second. All I'm going to do is I'm going to spray all this good with WD-40. Okay, it's all getting sprayed down good. And then I'm going to take this little brush and go around the whole thing, scrubbing it out good. There, that white clip finally fell out. And then I'm going to take a rag and wipe the whole thing out good. All right, that was a lot of fun. It's all nice and clean now, and we're going to start putting it back together. Okay, we're going to start off by taking our sleeve here, starting to slide it in. Well, the first thing that's got to happen is it's got to go through this carrier. Now the carrier is going to sit in here like so, and that bar is going to fit through the carrier, okay, up here. So that's where that hole for the bar's got to go. We'll set that in, and we'll start maneuvering it in, making sure that everything is in place. Okay, I'm going to bring this around, and we're going to maneuver this worm gear sleeve into place here and slide the white plastic piece back in that we saw fall out. Okay, we're going to slide that back in, and we're going to ease this in little bit by little bit. Now it's supposed to fit into the white piece. All right, see there? It's got these notches. Now what was happening is these have to fit into here like so. Okay? And they're still not there, like that. They've got to go in. Okay, which means this slot here is going to have to go forward. All right? Because the white piece goes up like this. So this gear, worm gear, has got to be facing forward. I had it facing down. All right, so let's put it back in again. Facing forward. Let's put our carrier assembly back in. Slide this back in. Get this sleeve to go in as far as it will go. Okay, that's in. All right, now let's see what we have to do to get this to go in. There. There. See how far it's dropped in now? That should be enough room to put this washer back on, like so, and then fit this E-clip back into place, like so, and then we're going to snap it back on, like that. All right, now we have developed a problem here because we have a new piece that wasn't visible before. That's this bar right here. And where that goes is right here. And what's happened, we're going to have to pop that back out because that little bar right there goes in and holds this gear in place. Well, it fell out while we were doing this. So I've got to pop that E-clip back off, put the bar back in the gear, get the bar to go back inside this gear and inside the sleeve, and get it to go back on. So we're going to come back over here. And this is just a matter of patience, folks. There are going to be things like that that are going to happen. Don't get frustrated. Don't let them bother you. Just maneuver around. And make it happen for yourself. Okay? All right. Now, there's the E-clip off. Push the gear back through. Got to get through the washer. That washer's trying to catch on the ridge. There we go. Pop that washer back out. There it is. All right, now Okay, we got this out far enough now. Let's zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. This little metal bar fits through the worm gear. Okay, holding the gear up. Slide the pin back in. Get the pin to align with the gear, like so, and push it in. Okay, that locks it in place, and it will stay there once we get everything back in on this side. Okay, so keep my finger on it. Rotate this as needed. There we go. It just dropped in. Now we got to get this part to drop in. There we go. I've got that part dropped down now. Put the washer back on. Put the E-clip back on. Like so. And now we're going to snap the E-clip back in place. Like so. All right, now none of that's going to fall out. This is where we're going to come back now. Take this bar. Now this bar's got two ends on it. One end is like this, where it's all straight, and the other end's got this little cutout. Okay, we're going to take the cutout side, and that's going to go in first from this side over here. Rotate this around. The bar is going to go in. It's got to go through, right here. It's got to go through the carrier, and then it will set itself into the hole in the other side, but it won't go all the way through. There we go, like so. Now, here's where you would want to go ahead and slide this piece over, but you can't do that yet. The reason being is because you've got to have your pawl installed first. Okay, we're going to put the pawl in first, and it's got to go facing the direction of the slots. Push it down a little bit, rotate it, and if it's in there good, it should start to catch on the teeth and rotate around. Okay, we're going to pause for a moment. All right, the washer that I told you to be very careful of, that you didn't lose, well, I lost it and had to go get another one. So we're going to put it in. Go ahead and put your pawl cap back on. Okay, I have something not right. I think it may be because the bar's out. Okay. Okay, you know, the bar was out. And with the bar out, this is not going to function properly. All right, now we've got the pawl in. When you rotate the gear, the pawl moves up and down. Now we're going to put the washer in, and we're going to put the pawl cap back on. Okay, make sure everything functions properly. Let's lubricate the pawl, and then we're going to lubricate the worm gear. Let's go ahead, rotate it around to the other side, and let's lubricate the worm gear again. All right, I'm going to put just a little bit of torque with the screwdriver to make sure that we're in there good. All right, remember this is a plastic cap and it's real easy to snap. All right, we've got all of that now cleaned up. I keep dropping this bar. I've dropped it at least 4 or 5 times. And let's put it in one last time, get it aligned, and let's put the cover back on. It holds the bar. There. Now the bar won't fall out anymore as long as we put these 2 screws back in. All right. The bar is not in the spot. There. All right. Okay, we're going back to this side now since we've cleaned all of that. What we haven't cleaned yet is this gear assembly. Let's go ahead and remove the cap washer, this Teflon washer that it has underneath. Flip it over, we've got our gear, our cog. And we're going to wipe each of these off. All right, all these parts are now cleaned. What we're going to do is we're going to put this cog back on first. It's going to go on. See these teeth? They've got to go facing this direction so that they can hit against this bar right here. Okay, that's going to be what's going to flip this. Now, does this need any lubrication? Not really. Let's get this flipped over so that the cog can go in. There we go, like so. Okay, that's going to go like that. Now, this gear or washer is going to need just a little bit of lubricant. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some Cal's Universal Grease on it, which is supposed to be a specially formulated drag grease for drag washers. So we're going to put a little of that on there, and then we're going to wipe the majority of it off. I'm going to leave just a nice thin film of it on there and slide that on there. Now we've cleaned the back of the gear, but there's a little bit of film left on there on the drag washer, so we're going to slide the gear on. Now before we do this, let's go ahead. By the way, this cog has got to fit down like so. There. It has a keyway on it and has to fit into that keyway. We are now going to go ahead and take some fishing reel grease and put it on the teeth of the gear. This gear should fit down That is all the way down. going to take this drag washer and give it a very light coating of grease. Take that off. I've been looking at that wrong underneath there. It looks like it needs to go further down, but it doesn't. Okay, and then goes this one. Okay, all that goes in place. Then goes this washer. Like so. And then goes the sleeve. Like so. Now all that should fit nicely, and if it's staying down tight, when we hit this, it goes back up. That's what it's supposed to do. Okay, good. That was giving me some of a fit. All right, now it's time to put these two springs back on. This one and this one. Okay, and here, the only thing we have here is this one bearing. We're going to unscrew this a little bit, and we're going to put oil in this bearing, spin the bearing a little bit, make sure it can turn easily. And we got one thing left to clean. And that's going to be this anti-reverse clutch here. Now this is not supposed to be covered in grease and oil. It's supposed to be reasonably dry. So we're going to wipe all the excess grease off of it, and it should be ready to go back together. All right, so now when we go to put this in, this long screw here has to go through this hole up here. Okay, you might need to, I think that's it. I think that's the hole, let's see. No, here. There we go. And this slides down. Everything should fit in. Like so. Okay, I'm hoping that quiets down when the spool goes back in. All right, we're going to put, this is a long screw, so it's going to go back here. Another long screw, it's going to go back here. And let's go ahead and screw those two in first. Okay, then the short screw goes in this front up here. Okay. The other long screw is going to go in this front right here. And then the long black screw is going to go into this hole right here. All right. Now we're going to come back and we're going to put a little bit of grease on here just to help it slide in. That it will not spin on that grease. It's going to be slid into bearings, and the bearings are what's going to turn. That just helps it slide in easier. Okay, it's all the way in. We're going to put a little bit here just to make sure it goes easily into this side bearing. We have already oiled this side bearing. This one's going to come over here, and if you remember, we had to turn it, put it on like this, and then rotate it backwards, like so. Then we put this screw back in. And now that everything is in its bearings. All that noise that we were hearing before is now going away. All right. Okay. Next thing to go on is this little bitty super fine washer. We missed just a little bit of cleaning right here. And we didn't take this cap all the way off. So we're gonna take it off now. All right, there's the adjuster inside there. And we're gonna clean this dust and dirt out right here. And set our adjuster tensioner back on here. Let's see, it's got flat, it's got little notches right there. You got to match up the notches like so. Okay, let this plate back in. It may be easier to put it in the cap. I think it is. Just drop it back into the cap, set the cap back in place, and start to screw it back on. Okay, that done. Ready to put this guy back on. Okay. This was that adjuster. I'll set it back on. Let's get the one that's got the clicker in it. Okay, we'll set that in there like so. And then our 2 tension washers go on. And you can adjust those depending on which way how much tension you're looking for. Okay, and let's put our knob back on. And as it goes down, it's going to start the clicker. There's our clicker. And it's now creating tension, so okay, now we've got this tension washer here, which goes in between. And it's basically almost unnecessary. This is more of a shim washer, I think, because it's not bent as a tension, and this already has the clicker in there to hold its tension. So I don't really think it needs a tension washer. I think it's just a spacer. Okay, put this back on. Let's put our nut back on. Handle nut. All right, so get your nut tightened down. Now you got to align this so that it's going to align when you put this on for that screw to line up with the hole, and we don't currently have that. If you look right here, you'll see that we're misaligned to the hole. So let's back it off a little bit. Try it there. Still misaligned to the hole. All right, that looks like it's lined up properly. Put the screw in. All right, and let's see. No, we need to put a little bit more oil in these because they're still squeaking. Okay. All right. And there you have, oh yeah, it's a nice little reel. Oh yeah. And what we'll do is we'll adjust it. We'll back the drag off because I know it's way too tight. And what we're going to do is get hold of the line, the little bit of line that I kept on here. I kept it on here just so I could give it a drag pull. There you go. There's your drag. Good. And now I'm going to take that off. So there we've got it. Now, of course, this one doesn't have a clicker. It does have this magnetic drag over here. And Galen, I think you got a really nice reel here, buddy. And let's see, let's tighten this down just a little bit more. That's too tight. There we go. And now what I do, the way I remove, I don't like cutting into things. It has a tendency to scratch them. The way I usually take a line off is I will grab hold of it like this with the hemostats, and then I will try to roll it out like so. And most often it'll snap it off either behind the knot or right by it. And it will almost always take it off without scratching and cutting into and this one here was double knotted. They did not want this line to come off. There we go. And there it is. You have the ABU Garcia Promax 2 spinning reel, or sorry, baitcaster. And this one's going to Galen. And he said he'd like to have a nice vintage baitcaster, so I decided to hook him up with one. And I will be delivering it to him personally tomorrow, as long as he's in charge. And for now, if you like the video, please hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button. If you'd like to see more videos like this, by all means, subscribe. We did go over 700 this month, subscribers. It seems like I'm gaining between 40 and 50 a month. And so I'm up to 700 now. And we're doing fine. But if you'd like to see more, go ahead and subscribe. And for now, that's Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels, signing out.